inside Putin's monsters of Motyzhyn who forced mom to watch as they shot son dead and tortured civilians. A brutal gang known as the Monsters of Motyzhyn who are accused of forcing a mom to watch as they shot dead her son and torturing civilians have been officially identified. The group of 8 Russian soldiers, including 3 from the private military Wagner Group, are said to be responsible for at least 14 war crimes in Ukraine. The gang of 8 soldiers are known as the Monsters of Motyzhyn Credit, Security Service of Ukraine. The gang are accused of committing 14 war crimes. Credit, Security Service of Ukraine. The gang are accused of executing the town's mayor and butchering other locals. Credit, Security Service of Ukraine. The brutal gang consists of 5 members of the Russian army and 3 from the Wagner Group. Credit, Security Service of Ukraine. Motyzhyn Mayor Olga Sukhenko was killed along with her husband Igor and son Alexander. Only 3 people survived their sadistic torture of civilians. Russian troops occupying Motyzhyn, 30 miles west of Kyiv, tried to win the support of local officials and butchered them when they refused to collaborate, according to neighbors in April. The mayor Olga Sukhenko, her husband Igor and son Alexander were reportedly kidnapped on March 23. Their fate was unknown until their bodies were found in a shallow grave in April behind houses that Russian soldiers had used as makeshift barracks. A 4th body was also found but has not yet been identified. The Russian soldiers said to be responsible were named by Ukraine's Prosecutor General Irina Venediktova in a Facebook post as well as the Security Service of Ukraine. Venediktova said, Kyiv Oblast and Kyiv Svyatoshin district prosecutors and the Security Service of Ukraine have identified those responsible for the atrocities committed in Motyzhyn. Senior Lieutenant Oleg Krikanov, platoon commander from the 37th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 36th Combined Arms Army. Sergeant Genghis Gonchakov, branch commander, combat vehicle commander from the 37th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 36th Combined Arms Army. Sergeant Alexander Vanchikov, division commander from the 37th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 36th Combined Arms Army. Sergeant Magomed Mirza Suleimanov, combat vehicle commander from the 37th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 36th Combined Arms Army. Senior Lieutenant Vitaly Dmitriev, platoon commander from the 37th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 36th Combined Arms Army. Alexander Stupnitsky, reconnaissance and communications officer from the 1st Reconnaissance and Assault Platoon of the 1st Reconnaissance and Assault Company of the Wagner Group. An investigation established that the Russian occupiers abducted Olga Sukhenko, her husband and their son in March this year. According to the Prosecutor General, Olga and her family were tortured at a Russian base as Russian soldiers tried to find out information about the armed forces of Ukraine and territorial defense forces. Venediktova said, first, they shot at the son's leg right before his mother's eyes, then they killed him by shooting him in the head. The entire family died from multiple gunshot wounds. Consider the reason for another murder. One of their victims was shot in the head just because she was wearing black. Her father was taken prisoner and held in an outbuilding blindfolded and with his hands tied behind his back, practically without water or food. The investigation also revealed that 2 volunteers who were trying to bring humanitarian aid to the residents of Motyzhyn were also captured. After they were interrogated and tortured, they were taken to the forest nearby and shot. One of them managed to survive the ordeal. The suspects are also said to have tortured to death 2 members of the Patriot Civil Society organization. Their bodies had multiple penetrating gunshot wounds. The Russian soldiers tied another of their victims to a quad bike and forced him to run after the vehicle for almost a kilometer. The same man was also interrogated, beaten up, and threatened with being killed. He was forced to spend several days in a sewer pit. Venediktova also said the suspects had also shelled and set fire to civilian houses and taken people's mobile phones. Earlier this month, the first Russian soldier to be accused of war crimes went on trial. Sergeant Vadim Shyshamarin, 21, is accused of executing a 62-year-old Ukrainian man through an open car window in the northeastern village of Chupakivka during the first week of the war. Venediktova's office said it is looking into more than 10,700 potential war crimes involving more than 600 suspects, including Russian soldiers and government officials. The bodies of those killed were found in a shallow grave in April. Credit, Security Service of Ukraine. Only 3 civilians survived the sadistic torture inflicted by the gang. Security Service of Ukraine. Olga Sukhenko and her family are said to have been tortured on a Russian base before being shot dead. Security Service of Ukraine.